Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 120 of Two Amazon Sellers and a Microphone, brought to you by Solozo. If you're watching us live right now, you can tell we're very excited to have Ashley Armstrong, the hidden rules expert, on with us. Ashley, how are you doing?
Super awesome. You guys are way too much fun. We were like powwowing before you even got on this thing. I'm like, let's just keep having those fun conversations because this is just like, you know, a little conference masterminding going on here.
For sure. Yeah, we just usually like to hit the live button and just go because the conversation we have behind the scenes is usually just as fun as what we're doing on here. And we're talking about everything. I mean, Chris and I get pumped about all kinds of things. We know you're involved in a lot of different avenues. So we're chatting about that, and it's super fun, and it got my energy up for this conversation for sure, which is cool.
I love it. That's what I'm known for. Let's go.
Well, we have so many questions for you. We love the name, by the way. The Hidden Rules Expert was talking about that earlier. Fascinating. Now I'm intrigued. I've got to know what that is. But before we jump into all that, for anyone who's watching or listening right now who doesn't know you, give us a little background. You've got the floor for as long as you want to tell us about your story.
Oh man, are you sure you guys really want to dive into that? Like, geez, craziness. Well, I'm Ashley Armstrong, the e-commerce hidden rules expert, and I help established product companies find the money that they're leaving on the table through the science behind buyer behavior, which is really optimizing customers' decisions. And that's really what it is at the end of the day, focusing on how you're showing up online in order to get the highest sales and conversion rates with no confusion.
Well, that's a succinct. I love it. And that's so true because most of the people watching and listening are Amazon sellers. I know you deal with a lot of Amazon sellers as well as people in e-commerce in general. And coming from where Chris and I are, where we're talking to people about advertising and PPC, a lot of times it gets lost how the ads are working fine, but your product is not converting. Your listing stinks. And there's nothing we can't overcome that hurdle for you by changing your ad campaigns. There is science behind buyer behavior, and we'd love to dive all into that. But what got you initially in? I mean, now you're the expert. You've been in this for a long time. But what got you initially involved in e-commerce?
Well, in a nutshell, because we don't want to go too deep, because that can just get boring or exciting, depends on how you look at it.
Yeah.
About over a decade ago, I was living in Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. I was there for about almost 14 years. And when you're an expat living in a whole nother country, it's like, what do you do? There's not too many job opportunities per se. So I've always kind of been an entrepreneurial person anyways, no matter how you shake it. And one of the many businesses that I was running out of my home, one of them was I was cultivating my own bacteria in my kitchen and making a probiotic drink for local residents and tourists. This is way before Whole Foods even knew what the hell a probiotic drink was. And this is before people were talking about like, you know, your gut in the house, your second brain and like all that crap. Because I was also a naturopath, whole nother life. But the drink went gangbusters because why do you go to Cabo? You go to Cabo to party. And it's an amazing hangover cure among just being awesome for health benefits for everything underneath the sun. So I was growing, selling and all that other fun stuff. And I had so many people need it and want it. And then they leave and they're like, how the hell do I get this stuff back in the States or Canada or whatever it might be? I'm from Canada, by the way. And so that kind of spurred me to figure out how can I make this bigger, larger, and more for the masses. And so I really just sort of dove in to trying to figure that out. And it was like a year of like banging my head against the wall because everyone I spoke to was like, you need $150,000. You need to do like 50,000 orders of this and da, 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 da. And I'm just like, well, number one, I don't have $150,000 to get this thing going. This is just ridiculous. And simultaneously, I was also writing and publishing my children's book series for my kids. So learning the Amazon space for doing the self-publishing and working with people from all over the world to get that done, I'm simultaneously looking at how the hell do I manufacture? And both of those things kind of collided when I started getting like bestsellers on Amazon. I'm like, holy crap, like that's a cool place to be. Like that's actually working. And then, then he started stumbling in and took courses and programs. And of course, hired some of the best, the top mentors in our space over the years and built a 7-figure physical product business. It was not with the drinks. It was with something that was a lot easier to launch, small, lightweight, less liability issues. and whatnot. And from that, I just kind of spurred into partnering with Dan Hollings and working with thousands of students, training, mentoring, coaching, software tools, you name it. We've been doing it. And then the whole last year, I have been doing a lot of media and PR. And so I'm a regular guest expert on an Emmy-Award winning TV show, The List, which is seen all across the United States and all major networks. So it's just been kind of like, a whirlwind of step, 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 step. And here I am today.
That's cool. I gotta go
busy.
Yeah, you are busy. I gotta go into one part of that story that was really intriguing to me. So did you self-publish your children's books through KDP on Amazon?
I did. Yep.
So my wife does the same thing. She's a children's illustrator and author, and she's published 2 books through there as well. And that was after I had launched my Amazon business and wasn't even aware that how the similarities of some of those processes, and even nicer when you don't have to have any inventory. Really nice.
That's so awesome. I would love to know more about your wife's books, because I think that's a really amazing space. And the reason why I did it, they're for my children, about my children, in case I died early one day. And that's why I did it. So they're not necessarily for the world. They're for my children, and they're in my kids' keepsake box. And they're like, how to be an entrepreneur and how to deal with bullies and how to do a vision board and like just life lessons, how to meditate, that kind of stuff. In case I'm not here to pass them on to them. So we have like little family pictures in the background, and my dog, and all this stuff and whatever. So it was really more of an act of love for the most part, but people ended up liking it anyway. So it was kind of like cool.
That's really cool. That's similar to my wife's story too. And what you're doing.
I love that.
I will connect you guys afterwards. I'll have to she would love to talk with you. But so now you're working with clients all over the place, helping them have their products convert better. And tell us about the science behind buyer behavior. This is something that I always find super fascinating, and I feel like I'm just scratching the surface on it.
Yeah, well, of course, you can dive in and go like way down Alice in Wonderland's rabbit hole. But just on the surface, which is sort of like the grand scheme of things, everyone kind of knows it anyways, innately. But a lot of the times as business owners, we can't see the picture when we're inside the frame. It's really the way it is. Like, we can't help ourselves. We can help everybody else but ourselves. And so when it comes to, our own product listings, we forget to be a consumer. And it's like, okay, just stop for a second. How often are you buying online? I don't know about you guys, but Amazon takes a lot of my paycheck.
Yeah.
I'm always ordering and shopping and whatever. And so I'm like, I have to think into like, what is it that's making me click and buy? What is making me like make that educated decision in order to purchase? And then also what's pissing me off, because I'm so confused and it's wasting my damn time. And I'm just like, give me a bloody break here, people. I want to spend my money, but make it freaking easy for me already. You know what I mean? So, when you kind of put yourself back into the buyer's shoes, everything I'm going to be talking about really kind of goes ding, 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 for the most part. And really at the end of the day, the easiest thing that we have to just remember is that 65% of the population are visual learners. And it doesn't really matter what language we speak. We can speak through visuals as well. Right? An apple's an apple, no matter what freaking language it is. So that kind of is easy on that part. And then we also know scientifically that people don't read anymore. Like, we had a 15-minute attention span 10 years ago. Now we're down to 7 seconds. And so whether it's a blog post, whether it's like a recipe, whether it's a product listing, it doesn't matter what it is. People will skim 80% of the written information, but they will look at every single image that is presented to them. So, so I'm going to plant a little seed here. I want you to kind of think about, when was the last time you looked up a recipe online? And you get to these recipe pages and you know which ones like hit the job instantly, where you just scroll, and then the images have like 2 eggs, 1 cup of water, or whatever it might be. You see it, it's clear, you can grab it and get back to the kitchen. Or you end up getting to, good old recipe page and you're like scrolling. Where the hell's the bloody ingredients? What's the temperature supposed to be? How long am I supposed, I don't want to read your story about the souffle. Give me the bloody thing that I need to know so I can get back to cooking. So, when you kind of take those things into consideration, it's like, oh, wow. Okay. So how I position myself online is ridiculously important. Making sure I'm providing all the information the customer needs in order to make that educated buyer choice. And then you want to make sure that you're also eliminating anything that could create confusion in the shopper, because a confused shopper does not buy. They leave and they go to your competition, period. So, that's kind of like just the premise. And then you kind of break it down from that point on.
Well, let's break it down.
All right. I love it.
I really like that analogy about the recipe. I've never really thought about it like that, but I'll do this all the time. If I'm grilling something or whatever, I'll look up, how long am I supposed to cook this for? Or what's a good seasoning rub or whatever. And you're right. I will just go right to the one that's like in one picture, like 2 or 3 pictures and like a clock. And it's so easy. Like I know, okay, I can do this 20 minutes and these are the ingredients, which is very different than years ago where everyone was very comfortable flipping through a giant book and reading straight text.
Yes.
But I think from a seller's perspective like us, we get so hung up on the way that Amazon's going to read our listing. Yeah. We've got, we want to rank for certain keywords. We want to do this. And then we miss out on sort of the magic of taking that and making it in a way that's actually a good experience for the customer. So when it comes to like a title, I'm assuming title and images are that's obviously the 2 most important things, but
yeah,
when it comes to a title, do you need to hit a pain point first? What's the most important part of a title?
Well, really, at the end of the day, there's 2 components to optimizing a listing. So we have one is the robots, which you already talked about, titles and keywords and all that other fun stuff. And the other one is how people actually purchase, which is through the visual representation, which of course positions your product online in order to be able for that person to buy for the most part. And so obviously, yes, the title, we're talking about Amazon right now. So the title is most important, but also if you're just an e-commerce seller, even selling on your own website, your title is just as important, especially if you're getting found in Google. So, they kind of correlate. You want to take the same sort of properties and strategies, into both spaces for the most part. But generally speaking, it needs to be clear and concise to the point. Obviously, you need to be only using the most important specific keyword as possible to describe the bloody product. Obviously not keyword stuffing, which we can't really do that in titles now anyways, because they've limited it down to like 250 or less, depending on the category that you're on. And sometimes, yes, and of course, there's lots of different categories. So hitting a pain point can be helpful because really at the end of the day, people just want to know what's the end result? What am I going to get out of this if I spend my money with you? So if you're able to kind of get that in there, that can be helpful. But a lot of the times, most of the titles are hidden anyways, and all you're seeing is just the first, 3 words or whatever it might be. So at the end of the day, yes, the title will help you, but if half of it's hidden, it's not going to help you for someone on reading purposes, depending on their cell phone or computer, of course. But the image, which we don't have much control over in the Amazon space, obviously the hero image, white background, pretty freaking boring, but we have to do everything we can to differentiate ourselves from our competition. But then when we look at, having our website, how can we really make that hero image really stand out and really pop? Because we don't have any rules that are holding us back on that. So everything that you do, no matter what platform you're on, you want to have that synergistic. You want to make sure that it's the same. There's no confusion. It looks like this over here. It looks like that over there. So really at the end of the day, yeah, the title is a great thing. Yes, you need that because you need the robots to have you pop up when people are looking for you. But it's like what happens after they click on your listing once they get there. That's when like the job really ends up starting, other than obviously getting them to click on you in the first place.
You touched on the title. What's the process look like when a seller comes to you? They say, Ashley, let's work together. Here's my listing. What process do you take them on to like increase the conversion rate and get those sales going?
It's really forcing the business owner to get back into the saddle of research again. And no one likes that. And I know it's like, geez. But really at the end of the day, it's necessary. So what we do is I take them through, technically it's an 8-step process, but really it's 3 if we break them down into like their bigger categories. So it's a 3-step process where we do a DNC, detecting and correcting competitor analysis report. And we actually create an SOP, standard operating procedure. And all the information that we're collecting on this one spreadsheet can be used and reused time and time again within the company operations. So any employee that you bring on will be using it. Anyone you hire to write copy, blog posts, emails, whatever it might be, all the pertinent information that is necessary will be on this document. And so we're extracting, obviously, the customer journey is super important. We're looking to see where the customers are searching for your type of product and how they're educating themselves about that particular product. So of course we can get the verbiage that the consumers are using, and then looking at the competition, their pros, their cons, and making sure we're highlighting what their negatives are as our positives and things of that nature when it comes to just extracting and pulling in all the information. Because again, we have to get into the buyers' heads so that we can make sure that they're not confused and that we're disqualifying the competition for them so they don't have to look anywhere else, which, you know, all Amazon wants you to do is jump. They don't give a crap who you buy from as long as you buy from someone on their platform. So it's like, yeah, here's your product, but we don't want them to scroll past like the very top part. Because if we do, then here's 20 options, and then here's 20 more options, and you scroll again, and here's 20 more options. So it's our job to make sure that we give them everything they need within the very top section. The visuals is the biggest component in order to, you know, make sure that that customer ends up buying from you and not jumping to someone else.
Then,
in a nutshell.
But that's a good point you bring up, because a lot of the information that you can put on a listing is after they've just scrolled past 20 of your competitors. And so that's a problem if you want to sell them up front. A big component of that, I would imagine, if you're trying to cram a lot of information in, is infographics. Yes. And I feel like there's science behind infographics that maybe I haven't completely tackled totally myself yet. But most people, like you said, they don't read the bullets. You need your bullets to be conveyed in your images somehow, because you're just flipping through it. So I mean, what do you tend to do with like infographics on your images? Are they just a lot of text, little text?
Oh, I love that you brought that up. Infographics they're totally my jam. I absolutely freaking love them. Obviously, having really high quality, good professional images, lifestyle images, or in-use images of your product are totally necessary. But then the infographic component, and you know, when people hear infographic, they think of like those old school, big, huge, long, crap ton of text and arrows going everywhere. And you're like, I can't even figure out the flow of this document, but okay, I'm seeing lots of numbers and percentages. I'm feeling good about it. And obviously we don't want to be doing that when it comes to the physical product space, when it comes to infographics. And so I actually have a drag and drop system. It's productinfographic.com that allows you to very easily, within 3 minutes, take your own existing images, drag them and drop them into already organized templates in 18 of the top selling categories. And with my system that I was talking about, when you go through the 3-step system of inputting your information, on the very last part of the sheet, it actually spits out the very smallest amount of bullet point information that actually goes into your infographic. So it's actually, you know, all step by step to get that end result. But really at the end of the day, there's 2 things you have to think about depending on where you are selling. When it comes to the information that you have on the infographics, you want to use visuals more than text. So if it's a dog product, use a dog bone, dog paw. If it's a house item, use a freaking house. You know what I mean? Like if there's something about the sun or heat or warmth, use like, you know, the fire symbol, use as many symbols as you can. Because again, we're talking about the fact that there's lots of different people with lots of different languages in the country, but we also know that the brain can interpret visuals within 13 milliseconds. Crazy. Hello. And we're like, we have a second attention span. They're like, that's not enough time. 13 milliseconds is all you need in order for you to understand what that visual is, right? Or it takes between text and a visual, it's basically 60,000 times faster for the brain to interpret a visual over text as well. So once you start taking like, okay, this is how the brain is operating, this is how this thing is working, you want to use as many little visuals or icons or cues to kind of get the message across. And then what's left over are the smallest bite-sized bullet points you can possibly get in there. So every time we write something, it's like a sentence. And they're like, okay, how can we dumb that down? And then you like pull a few words out and you get a little bit shorter. And they're like, can I use like one word to take up those 2 or 3 words? And you kind of like play around, you know, you're kind of like playing Jenga a little bit with words to get them down as small as possible. But really at the end of the day, it's really just making sure you hit the most main components that customers need in order to make that educated buyer choice, which is the who, the what, the where, the how, the when, and the why. And then of course, the pain point is usually in the first aspect of it. And then the end result is the last aspect of your visual storyboard outline, which is also your call to action to get them to go to the buy box. And what I like to challenge people to do is if you go back to like 90s, like infomercials, this is like way too much fun. I absolutely freaking love it. I know everyone knows what I'm talking about, but if you go back to 90s infomercials, just Google it. Good old YouTube has them. They're usually like 3 minutes long-ish, generally speaking. But if you watch those infomercials and you timestamp it, you stop it and screenshot and then screenshot and then screenshot, you literally have a storyboard outline that you could technically upload to a product listing, which is kind of crazy if you think about it, right? Because they go into, you know, like, oh my God, this thing has tons of stains. So like, you think of like OxyClean, like everyone knows freaking OxyClean. Like they did such a great job with that bloody product. Yeah. And if you go through their 3-minute little segment there, it's like, this is the pain point, the problem. And then this is what happens when you use our product, but you can also use it over here, blah, blah, blah. We had 1 million of these freaking things sold and you're going to get it for X amount of dollars or whatever, fast shipping and blah, blah, blah. But if you just screenshot that out, you're like, holy crapola. That's a whole freaking storyboard right there. So it's really great to kind of look around us of what other people have done. Even of course, you know, things that are like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, or whatever it might be, because it can like plant some really amazing seeds of inspiration and how we can do a better job of showing up in the places that we're trying to show up. So that's kind of like one thing when it comes to like infographics and of course, providing information through the visuals. The other component that you have to think about as well is the difference between a third-party marketplace like Amazon and your own particular website. And so, of course, on your website, you have full control. There's no rules. You can do whatever the hell you want, which is great. And when people are there, and if you can get them to stay there because you've done a great job with your branding, your messaging, your positioning, people will take the information. They'll spend a little bit more time sort of diving in, but obviously you want to make sure that you're showing up as good on your own website as you are on Amazon. But the fact of the matter is on the third-party marketplace like Amazon, the features and benefits component of selling is like on high gear, super, super high gear, where the features and benefits don't have to be so focused on your own particular website because they have no one to necessarily jump to so easily to compare. So a perfect example of that is if you're buying binoculars, as an example, and you happen to find 2 of them and they're close to the same price, maybe a few dollars in difference. One of them is just plain old binoculars and the other one has a compass on it. Now, you may not even know how to use a compass, but it's an extra feature, which could possibly be a benefit for you if you end up buying that one for like $3 more. So which one are you going to do? It's features and benefits because we want more bang for our buck. So you have to really understand that when you are on a third-party marketplace and people are so easily able to jump from you to somebody else, you really want to like dive in to disqualify your competition. And you do have to highlight the features and benefits a little bit more so, specifically because of that reason, compared to on your website. But at the end of the day, obviously using the same images for the same products on the multiple different platforms is the way to go. So people feel good when they show up because it's consistent.
Let's go there. Let's go to that website versus Amazon, because that's 2 different stories. Like when somebody gets to your website, that you got to get that trust. You got to get that trust with that buyer. When you go on Amazon, they already know what they're doing. So what would be the difference there? When you work with somebody, like how do you separate those messages?
Well, in a lot of cases, we don't necessarily separate them. We might just hone down or tone up a little bit when it comes to what it is that you're presenting. Obviously, when it comes to your website, you can have more opportunity to having videos, having more images, so on and so forth. And we know scientifically, the more images that you display, the more trust people actually have in you. So that's pretty cool, which is like ding, ding, ding. You know, you might only get 6 on Amazon or technically 9, but 3 of them are hidden. So people don't even see them anyway. So it doesn't even benefit us. You know what I mean? But on your website, you can actually use all 9 of those ones that you might have created for the other platform. It's definitely one of them. You really, really, really want to make sure that you are diving into the like, know, trust. And again, the visual components is a very big aspect of that, really highlighting on testimonials, customer feedback, or anything that you've done like in the media, any logos, anywhere you've been, anyone that you've helped is a really big thing as well. And, you know, a lot of companies that I've worked with, a very large majority of them have some sort of charity. You know, like they're building water reserves or they're sending money to women's shelters or whatever it might be. And when we're on Amazon, those types of things don't seem to, and again, you know, this is all, you have to test it because nothing's ever done. You just test. But those types of components don't really seem to make a huge impact on the purchasing decision, because again, they have so many to choose from. They're just like, I want it now. I'm on my lunch break. I have 5 minutes. Let me just find the best thing, get the information I want, and then click, and Bob's your uncle. You're good to go. But on your website, you can tie in your story a lot more, right? Like the story, the mission and vision statement of the company is super important. As you said before, you really want to get the customers to like, know, trust you. And so you are able to wrap in wherever your like about section is, and you can kind of like bring those two components together, because actually the about section on every website gets read the most compared to any other pages on your website. So if you can kind of connect that story, because your message is what we use in our media, you know, let it all out, let it go, because people will be inspired no matter if it's good, bad, or ugly. And you can really bring those components in. And if you happen to be part of a charity, you know, anything that happens to do with like community or anything along those lines, those really seem to stand out, and they really build that like, know, trust on your site. If you lean into that just a little bit more.
Something that is really a tough decision to do is like, when do you start to focus to go off Amazon? Like, you're a seller and you're putting all your time and energy on Amazon, but there's got to be a time where like you got to get off Amazon just because of that control. You can control your message. Margins are better. You don't have to worry about suspensions. Like, there's things you don't have to worry about when you're on your website. So when do you make that jump? When's it a good time for sellers to start making that jump, to start doing their own website and social media, stuff like that?
You know, that's a really great question. First and foremost, you need to have a bloody website even to get onto Amazon anyways. So you should have one going. And at the end of the day, we don't want all our eggs in one basket. We know how awesome Amazon is to give us a leg up, but we also know the Achilles heel of being on that platform as well. So if you are going to take actionable steps, and you know, a lot of people wait until they're bleeding to stop the bleeding. You know what I mean? If you can do things before they need to be done, you're going to thank yourself. Like, I mean, like, you know, pat yourself on the back, give yourself a big hug, because you did it beforehand. It's like, I'm going to eat healthy now so I don't get sick, rather than getting sick. Now I'm going to eat healthy kind of thing. Because it costs more money to try to get yourself healthy again. So why even go down that road if we can obviously, you know, stop it? So if you are optimizing your Amazon listing and you got the new images and everything, it would be crazy for you to not optimize your website with the same images and the same information. Yes, you can take a few things out. Yes, you might have to switch a few keywords out because of the Google search terms compared to the Amazon search terms. But generally speaking, you can at least get it up there and get it going. So there is synergistics between both of them. So their messaging is obviously on point. And really, that's kind of the basis of it at the end of the day, is making sure that you do not have all your eggs in one basket. You have to have a website anyway. So why would you not put a little bit of time, energy, and effort and just do the same thing at the exact same time? And really, at the end of the day, once you kind of get yourself into like the 15,000 a month, 20,000 a month, then into the 50,000 a month, like once you start getting into those components in those areas, then it's like, okay, I'm making money. I'm paying my bills. I can get more inventory. This is freaking awesome. But Amazon doesn't give us anything unless you have a really great customer retention strategy, which that customer retention strategy should be sending them back to your social profiles and into your website anyway, so you can capture them as an email, so you can grow that email list, which of course is a billable asset, which will make the value of your company that much bigger when you go to exit. So like, you have to do these things no matter what anyways. But once you kind of get yourself up and going and you're seeing some consistency, that's when it's like, okay, am I a branded company or am I just a product company? Finding a profitable product and selling it. Profitable product and selling it. We all know this strategy. It was taught to us 10 years ago when we all, you know, a lot of us got started. Like, that's how I got started. And then it started going into like, wait a minute, if I have all these random ass products, how am I supposed to do any like, you know, advertising or marketing or, you know, who's my audience? Who am I speaking to? What problems am I solving? Nobody's, you know? So you really want to like figure out what type of business model you want for sure. And anything you do on Amazon, you definitely want to update on your website. But really, at the end of the day, it's like, it would be stupid not to start pushing that a little bit, trying to push as many people from Amazon. Amazon is a place to fish, people. Like, yes, we're making money there, but you should be fishing on Amazon and moving the fish over to your own little pond at the end of the day. So your website.
I love that.
Yeah, I do too. This is actually... you're kind of inspiring me a little bit to actually go back and check on these things, because I'll do that sometimes where I'll test a new image on Amazon or update something, but then just completely forget about doing the same
Everyone
thing.
forgets about their website. It's so much work.
Yeah, I mean, it's also like the 90-10 in my case. It's like 90% of my sales are coming from Amazon. So it's like you're in that world a lot of times testing that, and you forget you've already just done it. So I'm gonna have a little homework tonight. We're gonna audit.
Yeah, it's like, you know, when you start to get the VAs and your executive assistants or whoever is like on your payroll, like that needs to be their damn job. You're supposed to be the brain of the operation. You're the face of the business, depending on how you position yourself. A lot of people love selling products online because they don't actually have to show their face. They can just hide behind the products.
Yeah.
So I totally get that. But let's just say the face of the business. But that should definitely be part of your long-term plan, your weekly strategies, your weekly to-do list is wherever you're updating over there. And you know, so one fun thing, there's this one thing I did with one of my clients. I'd love to share it with you guys in your audience. Yeah. I'd like to kind of think about like, okay, so we're talking about customer retention strategies. And we all know the whole thing. Like, I don't know about you guys, but like back in the day, like 10 years ago or almost 10 years ago, we had like PDFs, so like little children's books and everything else that went with our products, you know, all these charge more money and whatever. And obviously it's kind of taboo and we don't necessarily do that nowadays. But the fun thing that we can do is really get creative with micro influencers. And depending on your product and your niche, and obviously your audience, we'll take that out of our conversation. This is just a blanket sort of statement. But, you know, how can we sort of use that and leverage that, you know, to like our benefit? And so one of my clients, they had an 80s product. And so what we ended up doing is found a micro influencer on TikTok, sent them a bunch of the products, had no idea what these guys are going to do with it. They ended up like, I mean, like, oh my God, it was so amazing. They did this like whole skit and the dance with like the products and like being all silly and creative. And the whole concept of all that is they're trying to like create sort of like a little bit of a viral campaign, but organically with their following. And so it's like, if you want to, because we all know TikTok's about copying dances and stuff like that, right? Silly. Yeah. So if you want to be able to follow along with this influencer, you need to buy this product. And so they had like an affiliate link. So they got 2 bang for the buck. They got paid and then they had an affiliate link as well. Go back over to Amazon to buy this product in order to be able to do the TikTok. So there's like social proof, hashtagging, TikTok, getting the name and everything out there. And you're moving people back to Amazon, which Amazon loves outside traffic. And then we had the insert inside the products when people were buying on Amazon to say, hey, you want to like find this social influencer, check out this TikTok dance, and now you can use the product and you can get in on the action. Like you're in the know instead of not in the know, right? So now we've created this like whole circle ecosystem of moving people around in a fun, you know, creative way of using the product, micro influencers on and off Amazon.
That's a
perfect.
It's awesome. A great story. And I'm such a big fan of micro influencers. I've used them in my business. My product line happened to be perfect for that. But that was a new take
twist there. Yeah.
Bringing the buyer back to the social media, to the influencer. I mean, what a win-win all the way around.
Yeah, it is a win-win all the way around. And that's how influencers really get behind what they're doing. Because a lot of the times, I'm sure you've experienced this, here's my $50, here's my $500, here's my $3,000, whatever price point you're spending for the influencer. They do their thing, they're done, and they're out.
Right.
They don't give a crap. Yeah. They don't care anymore. But when you tie up like, you know, a story, a viral component of allowing them to continuously make some, you know, little bit of click, little bit of click, little bit of click, then they get really engaged. Then they want to share more. Then they want to do more. You know what I mean? And so that just puts a little bit more fuel behind it without actually having to take any extra money out of your own pocket or time and energy out of your time as well.
I want to touch on that because we're having so much fun talking about this. And you're bringing up, and like everything that you're talking about right there is emotion based. It's how much fun we're having with this product. You don't want to be left out of this group of what's going on.
You want to be in the know.
You want to be in the know. And so when you're considering or when you're working on listings, because some products there's the emotional component is big, like a weight loss product or something like that, where there's an emotion attached to the result. And some products are super analytical. Like if you're looking for Phillips screwdriver that's 6 inches long. I mean, you're looking for those specs. So
Yes.
what's more important when you're doing is it based on the product, how much you hammer the emotion versus how much you hammer the analytics? And
Definitely.
what
Yeah. The thing is even like mundane or simplistic products or whatever you want to call them that are like that, they still have an emotion behind it. You have to think about the end user. What's the customer's journey, right?
Mhm.
Is it a handyman who's buying this tool to make the money? Are they able to fix something in their home to fix a problem for their family? Did they build something with their parents as a child? And so building connects them to a memory of a lost parent. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta have to like dive in, like even the most simplistic, basic things like a freaking paperclip. How the hell do you find emotion behind that? But it could be emotion. Like, what happens if you lose that one document you needed to take to, the embassy to get your passport done or whatever it might be? You know what I mean? Like, you need to have something safe to keep all your paperwork together so you don't lose it, or, like, it's just like, if you kind of sort of like again, the customer journey and diving into that story and then researching where people are looking at, like the coolest thing is like when you're trying to do like your deep dive into your competitor analysis report, a lot of people don't look at blogs about their type of product. And that's like the biggest golden nugget ever. Because when other people are writing about stories behind using a product or the outcome of a product or something along those lines, that automatically gives you a little bit of a customer journey and the emotion behind it. And then if it happens to be a popular blog, you can see the comments down below because they're not necessarily selling something, even if they technically have affiliate links within it. But you know what I mean? It takes it from being a product listing and getting people's feedback based on purchasing behavior. This is research behavior. Because people 9 times out of 10 are going to research before they buy. And a majority of people actually do their research by watching YouTube videos. Like 80% of people will watch a unboxing or how to use YouTube video before they actually end up buying a product as well. So it's knowing where your people are going, what information they're intaking and how they're intaking it that will help you create that listing in order to hit all those points so they don't have to go anywhere else. And then again, you're giving them all the information they need in order to buy. But on top of all that, because of how the brain operates, there's 3 different components within our brain that help us with our memory. And so if 2 parts end up forgetting, that one part, if you can fire it, it will wire the other ones back in again. So you to have a story, so the whole concept of storytelling, we hear it a lot in copywriting and sales copy and all this other fun stuff. I ain't a writer by any stretch of the imagination, but we hear about it and it's totally true. So you want to have the story behind it, you want to have the emotion behind it, and you want to have a place. And so when people show up at your website or your listing, you can give them an emotion of how they feel when they get there. Do they feel like they're getting everything they need? Do they feel loved? Do they feel heard? I know it sounds funny, but it's totally the way that it goes. Are you presenting a story for them? Which again, the storyboard image outline, think about the 1990s infographics. They take you through a story, the pain points. This is what it is. This is how you use it. Blah, blah, blah. This is the outcome. Buy, call to action, buy now kind of scenario. And then outside of that, what ends up happening is if you can hit one of those points, you can fire and wire a memory, which is what we need to happen, because that's how you get organic outreach or organic or free referrals. Because I don't know about you guys, but whenever I go to the grocery store, I don't actually know the names of the certain breads or bottles of dressing that I'm buying. I know the label. I just know. I'm like, it's red and it's got yellow stupid thingy bobbers on it. That's it. I'm grabbing it and putting it in my cart. I don't read anything. I'm also a very visual individual, which is probably why I absolutely love the science behind, all this stuff. Because auditory clubhouse does not work for me at all by any stretch of imagination. But yeah, so you really want to be able to think of that, because if they can remember it and you're hearing and they're seeing a story, they can very easily regurgitate it to someone else, which is basically doing free advertising for you. Because we know for a fact, as well as scientifically, is that if you give someone a list of like 20 words, they'll remember about 3, maybe 5, depending on the person. But if you put those words into a story, they'll remember 90% of them. So it's just, it's just the brain and how it operates and how it wires, and just using it and leveraging that to our benefit. It's really what it is at the end of the day.
What I like about this is like, it's a different mindset. And we talk about this a lot, like us as sellers, we get into it and we're really, really like focused on something, but we need somebody to bounce ideas off of, or we need somebody else's input on something. Yeah. And that's where you come in. And like you come in and like,
I'm the sounding board. I'm the visionary strategist. I'm the pull everything apart and pick it all apart and find all the things with you and help you, figure out what it is that you need to do in order to make sure you're connecting with the consumer, and you end up being like the badass product in your particular space, and they freaking love you and they can tell their friends easily because they remember your story. And it's really what it is at the end of the day, just trying to get people to like, know, and trust you.
Yeah. Well, you proved it because you had me wanting to buy a paperclip and a screwdriver a second ago when you were talking about it. I mean, and then the stories, I mean, it was really interesting that off the cuff, you came up with those stories of how you can make an emotional attachment to a mundane product. I think that's really fascinating. When you're choosing the emotion to go after, I mean, how, because let's take another.
You go negative or positive. I think I know where you're going with that.
And like if like a weight loss program or a product, does the person want to look good in a swimsuit, or do they want to live a long time for their kids? Because they're trying to be healthier. Those are competing. That not everyone's going to have those same emotions. So are you first defining the segment of the market that you want to attack?
You have to.
And just taking everything, because I think a lot of times you'll see products that they try to they hammer every one of them.
Yeah. If you're speaking to everyone, you're speaking to nobody, period.
See, that's me.
Good. That was really good.
Yeah.
I'm actually, just for your weight loss thing, here's like a quick little insight with knowing nothing about what we're talking about. Someone who is young and overweight, they want to look good in a bikini. Mm-hmm. Someone who is older, predominantly usually has 2-child home. If you look at the statistics, they want to live for their children. Yes, they want to look good. Obviously, they had an awesome body. They got pregnant. Life happened. Things didn't exactly go the way, you know what I mean? Stress, work, it all kind of comes in there. They would love to look great in a bathing suit, obviously. And so feeling good about themselves is one thing. Having confidence to feel good about themselves is another thing. Bestowing and presenting a positive outlook on life is a reflection of what they want their children to see. And then they also want to live longer. So knowing those the demographics and diving into who your audience is and why they're buying that particular type of product is the best way to do it. And at the same time, this is what I do with all of my clients. If you want to make more money, what do? You get another product, right? Mm-hmm. Pretty simple. Everyone kind of knows that. But what if you can take the same bloody product and then reposition it and then sell it to another micro audience? Like, hello, super easy. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to even change the damn packaging. You can get another UPC code technically. New ASIN technically, new pictures, new listing, and now you have a larger footprint on the Amazon marketplace. So if you had a weight loss product, you can literally have a weight loss product that is for and geared towards young people. And you can talk about all those pain points. And you can also have a weight loss product who are for more, older people. Let's just say older people, because we don't want to put an age or whatever, but older people who have those types of problems. And there are 2 different markets. There are 2 different messages. It's the same bloody product, but you can make double the amount of money.
I have a whole story on that.
This is good. This is like a coaching call. This is fantastic.
So there's a couple of things. I've noticed this in other listings where I'll see the same product, but it's completely marketed. They've separated the listings out and marketed too. But one of the first products I ever launched was resistance bands, workout resistance bands. Okay? Yeah. And I had someone message me through Amazon's Messenger wondering if I would be willing to donate them to a school. And so I reached out, I was like, why? Are you doing a bunch of workout stuff? And she's like, no, we put them around the chairs and the kids bounce their feet off. And I was like, oh my gosh. Okay. So I actually took that same product, did what you said, put a separate UPC code on it, made a whole new listing. And it was the coolest thing about this, and I encourage anybody everyone who's listening, take an evaluation of your products and how they can be used differently.
Yeah.
That there was nothing like it. I was the only person that had that product marketed to that segment, and it was selling out immediately because people were searching that word. They were like, how do I get bands for chairs in schools? On Amazon, there was nothing to fulfill that. And so when I just rebranded it and made it more towards that, now it's funny because now there's like 9 million competitors. So I guess, thank you. I'm flattered.
It's a beautiful thing to be the first, but it also sucks at the same time.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes it's better to be the second. I figured out. But it is that's just a little illustration of that story of what you're talking about. I would have never done that. I think my initial reaction was to like change my title, like also good for chairs in schools, and I think I would have tanked myself if it would have been like, well, what kind of weird workout bands are these? Because you're hitting your audience.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
exactly. And it's like, another really great example of that. There's actually two of them I can share with you. Well, another client that I had, they were in like the sheets, like luxury sheets and whatever. And they're like, well, how can we like separate it? I'm like, it's a freaking sheet, dude. Like everyone we uses them with their beds, first world countries and whatnot, generally speaking. And what really separates you from everyone else other than like color or pattern or whatever, but they wanted to figure out a way to start making some more money, add another product, but it's just like, what else can we freaking add? We got pillowcases and sheets and blankets and whatever. So I ended up diving in a little bit and like, okay, how can we repurpose what you already have that should cost you like no money? Because they're also like, we don't really have the money to like build a brand new product. And I ended up finding out that there was a little hole in the market that does about 10, 15,000 a month. It's not huge, but at least it will add to their bottom line. And they can repurpose a product they already had, which is creating massage table covers. And they just took their single sheet, their twin sheet, threw elastic around it. Bob's your uncle. Here you go. You got a cover. Now you have like a whole nother listing and a whole nother product.
That's awesome.
That's like one was super cool. And then another one, which I highly recommend people to look at, this has been a few years now, but if you recall those GPS trackers, the little coins, there's a whack load of them now. But when the first kind of I can't remember the name of it now, but when the first company came out, it was specifically for bikes. Track your bike, stolen bike or whatever. So it's bicycles and kind of like motorcycles. They did that and they pushed that like super hard. All visuals, all marketing, all messaging was just towards bikes for about 6 to 8 months. Then they went after tracking your children, 6 to 8 months. Same freaking product, just different images, different messaging, just whatever. And then they went to cars, and then they went to pets. So they just kind of kept repurposing the same product, but they gave it a lifespan that was long enough for it to really get ingrained in people's heads for all these different market segments. So you have to have patience when you're doing some strategies as well. It's not like do this today and then like do this tomorrow. It's like, no, have a little bit more strategy behind that and have a little bit of patience. It will pay off.
That's one thing I struggle with is like slowing down. Yeah. I always want to go really, really fast. But I get in trouble a lot. So I got to slow down a little bit.
I like that. I like that story you just did about that because another tactic would have been just like, oh, we've got this device that tracks anything you want.
For anything, yeah.
And would they have been much less successful? Probably.
It's not speaking to anyone when it's for everybody.
Yeah.
Right? Like, how are you supposed to find the pain points of that one specific thing if you're talking to everybody? We all have different experiences and stories and how we use stuff. So that's just the research component, really, at the end of the day. And if you're not doing enough research, then that's where you need to start.
Or work with you.
Or work with me. One or the other. We'll have lots of fun. This will be basically like our call, jumping around and laughing a lot.
Okay, before we wrap this up, because I've been dying to talk about crypto.
Yeah,
we're gonna go into a completely different area. We're gonna talk about crypto.
Plant a seed.
Okay, so Dustin and I have been playing around crypto. We're gonna dabble in it. You recently launched a crypto training program. What's that look like?
Yeah. So, oh my gosh, this is so funny. We launched it last month, and it's actually the beautiful brain behind my business partner, Dan Hollings, who I've worked with for 6 years. He stepped out of the e-com space. He was the big authority in our space. He's the one who launched the book and the movie The Secret, that $350 million campaign. And he was just like, okay, I need something new. So a couple of years ago, he stepped out and started, figuring out trading and whatever. Lost a bunch of money, made it back again, and just literally what we do and everything that we do is test. And he ended up finding a strategy that nobody else is using, which is literally like a set and forget, which is pretty freaking cool. It's called grid trading. And so you set up parameters and you make money when the coin goes up or coin goes down. And you just set it and you forget it. And I don't know, Chris, this might be hard for you, but you have to leave it alone.
You got to have diamond hands is what I've learned.
You got title hands behind your back. You just got to let it do its thing. And it's pretty freaking cool because you don't need to understand the crypto space. You're not doing trading, like day trading or anything like that. You don't have to watch for the highs and the lows and like when's the best time to buy, and like really wrap your brain around it and spend a lot of time, energy, and effort into it. It's literally just you set up the strategy, you set up the bot, it does everything for you and just spits it out. So as a perfect example, I have one bot that's been running for about 40 days, 45 days or whatever, and it's at 28% profit right now. And I'm doing absolutely nothing. And so some of the women in my women e-commerce mastermind community, I was talking to you guys about this before, but I definitely love to share it with everybody else. When we were talking about her strategy behind it, we ended up coming out the idea that like, hey, how, it's super hard for her to get loans from the bank to buy larger bits of inventory, because it's like, you know what the banking's like and how they're like so like a pain in the butt when it comes to trying to get some money out of them. So she's just like, well, this actually might be a way around that, where the funds that she has for inventory, she can actually invest where we know it's, investment. Of course, there's, like, I'm not a legal advisor, I'm not an accountant, I'm not a tax person. So like everything I'm saying is take it with a grain of salt. And of course, she knows that she's making her own decisions as well. But you really, at the end of the day, she's like, what if I can put some funds over here where I know it's going to start incrementally making some money until I actually need it again. So instead of just waiting until her next inventory order, she's now in the process of setting up a strategy where she's using her money to make more money, which would mean she'll hopefully have to go to the bank less over time of using this particular strategy. So it's really interesting how both those worlds kind of like collide a little bit. And there's lots of different ways that people are using it to either pay their bills or, dollar cost average, putting stuff away or hodling or holding or whatever it might be. But it's an interesting space that whether we like it or not, it's coming down the pipeline. Visa's already on the market as well. And it's being used whether you know it or not. Mm-hmm. And so it's one of those things where you don't have to go to university to understand it and learn it. You just set up a strategy. And as long as you know the rules of what that strategy is, you're pretty much good to go. And that's kind of what it is that we've launched. So the first launch was very successful and our members are freaking loving it. And we have another launch coming up next month. So it's very, very exciting to share this with the world.
I'm interested.
Yeah. So that's cool. And I really like the idea of, especially us as Amazon sellers. You get your disbursement and you're holding it and you're like, oh, I got to compile this, like save up my inventory. And it's always never enough. But that's that's a great idea. If you could take that money and make it work for you while you're holding on to it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Now, with any investment, there's always risk, period.
Sure.
Like no matter what you do, you can always lose it. Whether you're in the stock market, you're doing day trading, you buy a house, you buy a car, you buy some sort of collectible, like anything can happen. So there's always risk with whatever it is that you're doing. But, if you do enough research and you feel good about whatever strategy you choose to move forward with and trying to figure out different ways of increasing the income or increasing the money you're holding right now, I think it's very wise to at least dive into it and do a little bit of research around it, because it very well could be changing a lot of aspects of how you're doing business, as well as just your own savings, your own life and retirement or whatever it might be.
Yeah. 100%.
And just being diversified, period, is good. Everyone's like, be diversified. So buy houses, buy stocks, buy or whatever it is. And, get your money all over the place. So again, not all your eggs in one basket. I think everyone's starting to see at Amazon, not all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Not all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah. We can tell those stories another time. We've had horror stories of what's like having all your eggs in the Amazon basket. It can go south fast. But I love your energy. This is so fun. We've got to have you on again in the future because there's always cool stuff to talk about. And for everyone who's listening right now and they've listened to all this, your energy and your passion about how you can really help impact the conversion rate and the sales of a product just by giving it some love, some attention, giving it a story. How can people get in touch with you if they would like to work with you?
Great question. You can find me at thehiddenrulesexpert.com, and it's pretty much that, all social, media for the most part. Ashley Armstrong.hiddenrules on Instagram, but hiddenrulesexpert.com is the main place. And I'd be happy and would love to speak to anyone who's needing some assistance and wondering why their conversion rates suck.
Yeah. Well, we might be sending you some people because Chris and I talk to sellers every day. And the first thing that we do, because they're coming to us, they're looking for help with their advertising. First thing we do is say, can we see your listing real quick? Yeah. And it's right away.
listing is not up to par.
I mean, right away we're like,
you guys don't look great either. It's just like, we can do our job, but that needs to get done first.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
like building a house. It's like, first you need to have the bloody blueprints,
Yeah.
the land, the blueprints, dig out the foundation, put in the foundation. You know what I mean? Like, you can't put a roof on until you have like the walls and the wiring and the piping, and then you put, the insulation. Then you put it's freaking step by step by step. You can't skip any of those bloody steps, or else your house will.
Well, it's so true. It's like if you start advertising a bad listing, you're just paying for people to show up to a store that's got nothing to sell. I mean,
on Amazon, if people are showing up and not buying, Amazon's going to be like, "You suck,
bro.
get out of here. I'm going to put you way back."
And people don't understand that. You're paying to teach Amazon that your product is terrible. That's exactly right. So we'll be sending some people your way if they come to us with that before they can turn on their ads. But Ashley, this has been super fun. I said, we are going to have you back on again. We love it. We love talking to people that have a lot of energy and passion. It's so fun. It gets us energized about what we're doing. So thank you so much for that. Thank you for everyone who's tuning in and listening to this. If you like content like this, if you like to tune in and just meet an amazing person like Ashley and learn some cool tactics, please subscribe to this podcast. It's on every platform.
Subscribe, people.
Yeah, you gotta do like the subscribe. Click the button. Yeah, this is our call to action at the end of the listing right here. Make sure you subscribe.
You wanted.
That's right. And follow us on Solozo's Facebook page and Solozo's YouTube channel. We go live almost every day with somebody amazing like Ashley. Not everyone's as amazing as you, Ashley. I got to say that this was really good energy. That was fun. But thank you so much for coming on. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. And we'll be back at this again after the holiday. See ya.
Yeah.